All right, so chapter 26, our last chapter of the semester. And for this chapter, we're going to cover activity based costing. And so this is kind of if we jump back to chapter 18, I believe, where we talked about process costing. So the idea with process costing is we would accumulate all of this overhead cost. And so we would take all of that overhead cost, put it into one bucket, and then we would allocate it to the different products based on one flat activity rate or driver. So a lot of times we would just pick one, and it would usually be direct labor. That was tended to be the most common one. So however many direct labor hours was each product or each customer had, we would just allocate it based on those. And so it's a real simple way to do things. Now, one of the fundamental ideas of managerial accounting is understanding what your costs are and how they come about and how they're allocated to each product. And so activity-based costing takes that idea from chapter 18 of process costing and just digs in a lot deeper. So for example, the first one we're going to do is example 26-19, where so we have different activities that are driving cost. And so rather than putting them all in one big bucket, and so in this situation we have different activities. So we've got bid preparation, shipment, support standard items, and support for non-standard items. Instead of lumping all of the costs related to these in one big bucket and then just dividing by direct labor hours, we're going to separate them out and identify, hey, for each one of these activities, there's something unique that's going to drive that cost. So for example, for bid preparation, what's going to drive that cost isn't going to be something like direct labor hours. It's going to be the number of bids you do. For shipment costs, it's going to be the number of shipments you do. And for the number of standard items, it's going to be the number of standard orders you do. For non-standards, it's going to be the non-standard items. So what we're doing is we're figuring out what each one of our costs are and what is that activity that drives that particular cost. And that allows us to understand where our costs are being incurred at, and it helps us to be a lot more cost effective and make a lot better decisions. Back in one of the main drivers for cost accounting, or kind of where it started, I believe it was U.S. Steel, and they're kind of the first ones to really look at, hey, what are our costs and where are they coming from, and being very meticulous about it. And because they were able to understand better than their competitors where their costs were coming from, they were able to market more effectively, to sell more effectively, and to reduce their costs in certain areas and kind of exploit that. And so they were able to be much more profitable than their competitors, just because they understood their costs better. So as far as running a business, understanding where your costs are coming from and how they're generated is, if it's not the number one important thing, it's a top three for sure. It's really an essential idea of any business. And so this activity-based costing is really going to start kind of getting into that a little bit. And so for example 26-19, so we have a company, we have Schneider Electric, manufactures power distribution equipment for commercial customers. They use activity-based costing, and they want us to prepare a customer profitability report. And so the information they give us is, they give us their activities. So we've got bid preparation and so on. They give us the activity base, so what creates the cost. and then the activity rate, which is the dollars per request. So then we have information on their 3 customers. We have the revenue, gross profit, and then it gives us, so for each customer, 1, 2, and 3, it looks at, okay, how many bids did customer 1 do, how many shipments did customer 1 do, and so on and so forth. And so then it asks us to prepare a customer profitability report. So the first thing we want to do is, well, let's fill out these two green tables first. It'll make it a lot easier. So we have each one of our cost centers, and then we have what the activity base is. Hey, that's not spelled right. And so we want to plug in the activity rate here. So that's in this table. So the activity rate for bid preparation is $200 per request, $16 per shipment, $20 per standard item, and $75 for non-standard items. And so these are in dollars, and now we want to figure out how many of these activities does customers 1, 2, and 3 do. So that's all the way down here, and so to make this easier so I can see it, I'm just going to copy that, just drag that up there so we can see it. So customer 1 did 12 bid requests, 16 shipments, 48 standard, 18 non-standard. Customer 2, 8 bid requests, 24 shipments, 38 standard, 30 non-standard. And then customer 3 had 25 bid requests, 45 shipments, 56 standard, and 54 non-standard. Okay. Now I can delete that. And so now, since we know the number of activities per customer and the rate per activity, we can figure out the cost related to each customer. So here, we're going to take our cost and we're going to multiply that times the number. So to allow us to drag our formulas, let's put an absolute value reference on just the O. And now we can just drag that over and drag that down. It always messes up our formatting. Let's fix our formatting. There we go. So now by doing that, we've calculated the cost for customer 1 to do bid preparation of $2,400, the cost of customer 1 to do shipments, $256, and so forth. So really that's kind of the heavy lifting for this problem. So let's go down and fill out our customer profitability report. And so we can plug in our revenue per customer. So that's down here in this table. So we got 39,000, 26,000 for customer 2, 31,200 for customer 3. We also have our cost of goods sold. For customer 1, customer 2 is 13,520, customer 3 is 15,600. And now for the customer service activities, so we already calculated this. That's going to be right here. So we can just drag that across and then drag it down. Let's put an underline in there. Already have the total formulas built in. So now we have our sales, we have our gross profit, we have our total customer service cost, and our income from operations. Then we just calculated our percentage, so gross profit based on sales. So that's just going to be gross profit divided by sales. and then our income from operations, which is going to be our income from operations divided by sales. So not too bad. So the idea is, instead of just allocating all these costs based on one simple driver, we're identifying all the activities and a cost per activity to get us a much more accurate cost.